In this lesson, we'll learn how to add and remove widgets from our site. In our last lesson, we learned how to create our static homepage, and we now have our little entry blurb of content showing on our homepage. But what if we want to add additional content and functionality to our homepage, and we want it not to appear in this little blurb section, but maybe down here below or something like that? Well, if we came up here to edit this page, it's going to take us back to our page editing screen, and as we saw before, nothing we do here is actually going to show up on our home page. So we're kind of stuck with doing things either through our theme options and our front page settings, but we already used that blurb area, and we're kind of out of places where we can add content. So the way we can add additional content is by using widgets. So I'm going to come back here, and we saw one way to add widgets a couple lessons back by coming and hovering over our site title and coming down to our widgets screen. But another way we can add widgets is by coming up here to our site title and entering the customization editor. So if I hit customize, it's going to bring this up, and right under navigation we have this area called widgets. If I click on this, it's going to bring up all of our widget areas, and now we can see everything we're changing. We can see these changes taking place live. So this is a much easier way to kind of learn what these different areas are doing and what kind of effect they're having on our layout. The first thing I want to do here is I want to clean up our layout by getting rid of some of these widgets that are added up here in our header. You can see we have a lot of different things going on here, and it really is kind of making our layout look almost broken. So this is going to be our header right area. We can see that we only have one widget area for our header. And if I click to bring this down, you can see we have all of these different widget areas that have already been added for us. If we hover over these, you can kind of see a little glimpse of these widgets being highlighted in the window, so we can get a good idea of what we're going to change. So to remove these, we can just click this drop-down menu and just click on remove. And as I click that, you can see it's going to remove that from our header. And we can move on and come here and remove the rest, and you can kind of see these changes as they're taking place. If you like these widgets and you simply want to reorder them or change them, you could also drag and drop and do that as well. But I don't want any widgets here, so I'm going to come here and just remove all of them. And as I took away that last one, you can see that just by removing those widgets, we've already really cleaned up the look of our site. So if you're using a theme on your own and you have all this extra stuff that you're not interested in having, often that's added in the form of a widget, so you can come here and look through and maybe remove them or edit them in a way that works better with the site you're creating. So I'm going to minimize that header area because I don't want to add anything over here on the right. What I do want to add is some content here below our little entry blurb. So if we look at our different widget areas we have available, you'll notice we have 3 different areas down here that say they're for the front page, and we have 3 different widget areas. This is going to vary drastically once again just by what kind of theme we're using, but luckily ours gives us the option to have these 3 little widget areas down below so we can further customize our page. So I want to start with this front page widget 1. So I'm going to click here to add a widget. And I'm just going to add a calendar so we can kind of see where we're going to be adding our content. So we can see it's added right below there. So our first widget area is going to add content right here. It's just a really easy way is just to add something and then see what kind of effect it has, so we know where our changes are going to take place and that we're adding things where we want them to appear. So I want to add a little section here that advertises the menu for our restaurant. So I'm going to delete this calendar, come here and add a widget, and we have a lot of different options here for what we can add. We can add a list of pages, a custom menu, all kinds of things, but what I want is this thing called OpenStrap front page text. And what this widget is going to do is going to allow us to add a little kind of marketing widget right here. if I pull open OpenStrap on WordPress's website, you can kind of get a better idea of what kind of options and what kinds of things we could do with this widget. You can see these little 3 areas right here. These are these different homepage widgets. We can add an image, a heading, a little blurb. We also have the ability to add buttons as well. Well, that's exactly what we're customizing right now. So I'm going to switch back over here, add that front page text marketing. We have the option to add a title, so I'm going to call this menu. I want the headline to be menu as well. And for the tagline, that's going to be almost like the little blurb for this text, so whatever comes under the heading. So in our content.rtf file, you'll notice that I have a little section for each of these widgets. So in that first one under menu, there's a little sentence there. So I just want to hit Control-C to copy that, and I'm going to paste it right here in the tagline. It's kind of hard to see what this preview is doing, so since I have a small screen, so if I collapse this, you can see we now have our content being entered right in here. We have the title, then the headline, and then our little tagline here below. Since menu and title, those are kind of, or headline and title, those are kind of repetitive right here, I'm just going to delete that title and leave it at the headline. So you can see it looks like a heading and then our little blurb. To finish up, we can choose an image here if we want, which I don't want, and I want to add a button here to link to our menu page, just to give them another way to kind of advertise and promote the menu. So I'm going to type in the link for our menu here, http://localhost/blue-leopard, and then one last / and then menu. That way that button's going to take them right to our menu page. If you're not sure what URL to use, if you want to link to a certain place on your site, one way to get there is to edit that page, and I'll go ahead and pull up a new link here so we can see this, or new window. Say if I wanted to link to my location and hours, I could just click to edit this page, and on this page editing screen you'll see this permalink right here. That's going to be the link for that individual page. So anywhere you want to link to this page, we can use that permalink. One important thing to note here though is that's going to break if we move the location of our site. So if we publish this on the web, then we'd have to update all those links. That's just one downside of hard coding the URL or link in that way. We just have to remember to change that at a later date. So I'm going to come down here to our action label, and instead of saying view more, I want to say view menu. I'm going to leave that aligned left and as a primary action button. We have a lot of different options here for different button types, and I'm just going to leave it at that primary one. I'm going to collapse this so we can take a look, and that looks pretty good. So I just want to fill out these last 2 widget areas with that content and that content.rtf file. So I'm going to come here, add our front page text widget. For the headline, our second one's going to be location. So now we can see that live preview. It's updating that since my screen is not cutting off that first little area. I'm going to go ahead and paste. We can see the paragraph now. For the action URL, I want to link to our location and hours page, so I'm just going to copy that permalink by hitting Control-C. I can paste it right there. We have our button showing up, and rather than saying learn more, I just want it to say view location and hours. I could look over here. That looks pretty good, so I'm going to collapse this, and then for our last widget area, I'm going to come here and add one last front page text widget, and I want our headline to say entertainment. So that last section in our links.rtf, I'm going to hit Control-C to copy all of that text and then paste it right there. Now it's not adding paragraphs automatically for us here. If I drag this over, we can increase the preview size. You can see I have it formatted nicely onto new lines, but it's not following this in our widget. We don't have a little thing here to checkbox here to make it display paragraphs like we do with that text widget. So I need to add them manually here by adding a BR tag, which is a break. It's kind of a nice little trick there. It just forces a line break. It's HTML, so just a less than sign, BR, and then a greater than sign is going to add that little break there. So I'm going to hit Control-C to copy that. If you look over here, you'll notice this formatting kind of changing, and I'm going to do the same thing in making sure that these line breaks are appearing just how I want them to. And if I look over here, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse this. And then the last thing I would want to do here is just save and publish to make sure we don't lose any of those changes. So now that we've started to take a look at how we can remove widgets and how we can use widgets to further customize the layout of our page, in our next lesson, I want to continue learning about widgets and customize our footer with some social media integration.